Okay, hey, welcome back everyone. Hey, this is a video that I wanted to do for a long time. And I actually want to put more into this video, so I'm going to do a follow-on to this video. But I just felt like I couldn't wait any longer. I really wanted to get on this. Now, if you look over my shoulder, you're going to see an image of, a person or character who's known as Mammy. Mammy was the caretaker of the children on the plantation, for the most part. She was a woman who was committed to the slave master's children by force more than her own. Often she would nurse them, care for them, and when they were sick, she would breastfeed them. She would put all of her energy, all of her time, and often, as a result, have very little time for her own children. Right? Whatever was left over for her kids, that's what they got. And so it really wasn't a real positive relationship, as you can see, as you can imagine, right? In spite of a lot of the ways that it's characterized today with a very smiling, happy, jovial, dancing and, big woman, big black woman image that people like to portray. I mean, you can often see this on the pancake syrup, that's Aunt Jemima, and she's happy as can be. Or, the modern day mammies, we got the Popeye's chicken, right? And she's got her heavy accent going, and she couldn't be happier to serve you some spicy wings. Although that's a Canadian-owned company. It really got nothing to do with black people, Africa, except for, they got people like it. It's tasty. Anyway, the reason I brought this character, Mammy, up, because I saw something years ago when I started working in DC that caught my attention, and it shocked me, man. It blew me out. What it was. And, let's milk it. Let's milk it a little bit. Because I can't understand why others have not been as shocked as I was. Because I ran back and told people. When I saw it, it was like, I felt like I saw a ghost. I felt like Elvis Presley was walking around or something. In DC, not far from where I work, around the area of Eastern Market, I saw a few years ago for the first time, African women. And you can tell they got strong African features and dress and mannerisms and accents. Many African women pushing strollers around with white babies. I saw it once or twice and I thought, no big deal, right? Nuh-uh. I've seen an army of them, man. An army of African women. I'm talking dozens of them. Like when you walk by the market and I go, it's almost like a daycare center or something. A whole bunch of African women with 2 and 3 white infants or babies. Sometimes they're wiping their faces, wiping the ice cream off their faces, or unzipping, bag of chips, ziplocking the chips and all that, or buying them some donuts or something, and sitting around with them and just hanging out. And it's just African women and loads of white babies. I mean, the contrast alone for the visual is shock value right there, right? Because it's mad unusual. It's mad unusual, particularly with, the relations as they've been. I mean, racial tensions have been high, right? So to pretend that it hasn't been, come on. That's not me. You want to be insincere and play little games to feel good, then, you probably don't want to watch this video. But you want to be real, let's just be real with it. So it kind of made me think back to Mammy, right? Because I was thinking, well, how is it that these let me tell you something. I have African blood in my veins, melanated. I have African spirit in my heart. And I don't even know that many Africans. Do you understand me? I don't have that many Africans in my circle, much less I've never had them caring for my babies. I mean, that's just something we've had to do, whether we were busy or no matter what kind of hardships. You got the flu, whatever it was, just like my mom, we've had to just endure, and we took care of whatever we had to take care of. So it blew me away to think like, well, how do Africans get to come all the way over here and take care and integrate into white households to take care of their most prized possession, right? Which I would think is their babies, and be just kind of lounging around and hanging around all day with them. Do you find that a little strange? It almost looks like right there. I've seen it before. Does history not repeat? That's how it looks to me. What would you say? What does it look like to you? So I asked myself, well, let's figure this out. Are these women economically empowered by this situation? Is this something like that's really going to set them? I don't know, right? I was looking at it from my eyes, from a distance. Got to just put my, common sense to it, right? Let me think about it. It's a hell of a flight. It's mad expensive. African woman, comes all the way over here to America to babysit. Is she going to be set? Is that something that's going to like really change her life? Man, probably not. And I don't think that would be the intention of someone to reach all the way to Africa, to reach over Americans, to reach over, there are black people here too, to reach all the way to Africa so you can set someone. It's like, I got to take care of somebody. I got to do a good deed. I'm going to reach all the way to Africa and bring them over here. So I did a little research on the system of what I found out is that they're called au pairs. Let's talk about how this thing began, okay? Around World War II in France, there was a shortage of domestic workers around the wartime, And what they needed workers domestic workers to take care of the babies, right? For the middle and upper class households. And but they had this aversion to being part of the worker class. So, So over in France, they decided, hey, look, we need people, domestic worker bees, whatever, come take care of these babies. But, folks are feeling like they want to be upward mobile. They don't want to be seen as domestic blue collar work and all that stuff. So they're not going to go for the whole servant thing. So what are we going to do? So they created this thing called au pair, which in French means equal to. And these workers were domestic in-home child care providers, and what they did was, they weren't required to wear a uniform, right? So now these folks over there in France or whatever, right? They're feeling, hey, I'm big, right? You know what I'm saying? Kind of like me when I was in the military, and I was thinking, man, when I get out of the military, stop wearing this uniform, I'll be able to wear my own civilian clothes and be free. You got this like an ego boost thing, right? Some freedom, okay? Well, that's what was happening over there. So now you have this thing called au pairs, right? Equal to. And the presumption is they are part of the family. It's not a worker, but there's some kind of like a temporary extension of the family, a helper. Got it? All right. So I can't remember the year, but years later, that system works its way over here to America. Okay. And so what are the elements of the au pair system? Let's cut to the chase. Ultimately, it is madly cheap. Let's emphasize, it's incredibly cheap, as you can imagine, childcare. What these households do, okay, and from my experience and observations, they're chiefly white families, middle class and upper class families who are bringing these people in. And what they're doing is they're paying $4.30 per hour. The terms for being an au pair according to some of the largest au pair agencies like InterExchange and Au Pair World, there's many of them, and the industry has been scrutinized for a long time about really unfair and abusive practices against these au pairs. The terms of the arrangement is that the host family provides the au pair with a room in their home, and the au pair gets to eat whatever the family eats. So they can just like take and cruise down to the fridge and take a look around, okay, cool, I'll eat this, or I'll eat dinner with them or whatever. And they have a room. And because they're having a room in the host family's home, they've made this very ingenious calculation about the compensation. So what they've done is they've taken minimum wage, which is something like $7.20 or so, or $7.80 or something like that, right? And they've slashed it 40% because the person is living in their home. 40%. And that brings them down to $4.35 per hour. And they're worked listen to this, no more than 45 hours per week, a maximum. That's what's stated on the au pair website, the maximum. Let me tell you how the compensation and the conditions are stated. Compensation. Host families will provide au pairs with a stipend, a weekly stipend of a minimum, no less than $195 per week. Au pairs are allowed to work no more than 10 hours per day or 45 hours per week. When you do the calculation, it comes out to $4.35 or $195. How many of these families do you think are exceeding the minimum when it comes to compensation to these au pairs? Here's another one. How many of these how many of these families, host families, do you think, okay, are falling shy of the maximum that's stipulated by the au pair agencies of 45 hours per week? How many of these families do you think are sitting back saying, well, I could work it for 45 hours a week, but I don't really need them 45 hours a week, and I can handle some of this stuff, plus this person, has a life too, right? 30 is fine. 45 will be much. How many do you think? How many? If given the opportunity to abuse another human being, what has been your experience? What have you seen? Have you not seen people taking advantage of others left and right? It happens all the time. And the conditions are stipulated in such a way, which is why this industry has been beat to hell, but they're still pushing forward with the support of the participant families while they continue to push forward. So let's talk about the positions in here. There was a story, okay, and I hope you find this interesting because I do. I find it mad interesting. There was a story about attorney generals in some place. Again, that's why I told you I got to get deeper on it. I remember reading it. Who was fighting against the au pair system, stating that anytime a person is working 40 to 45 hours per week, then this is no longer a cultural exchange program as being presented. This is not about tourism and coming over here, learn the language and hug my little daughter and hug my son. And by the way, I made you grilled cheese and let's go for a walk in the park and let's talk about American history. Hell no. This ain't no cultural exchange. This is labor, man. You might as well give a person a John Henry pickaxe, one of them hammers, and send the women out on the railroad tracks and have them banging spikes. And call that a tour to Disneyland as they're nailing spikes in the railroad tracks. So um, these 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 people are the to be in the au pair program. The requirement is to be a woman, largely women, between 18 and 26 years old. They've got a lot of background checks to go through. They frequently pay for their own flight, which is mad expensive, to come from wherever the hell they came from over here to America, under the guise that it's some kind of a culturally enriching thing, right? Now, but here's a reality. If you're putting in 45 hours per week, you're exhausted. Okay? You don't have time to do anything. And if you are, say, going down to the fridge, to try to find something to eat, and the family, as in many of these cases from what I've seen, has like a liter of milk, a loaf of bread, a couple of frozen TV dinners, and it's not something that you're really vibing with, where do you think your money is going after you've been spending 10 hours a day, perhaps, with kids, multiple kids, which brings me to another point, and you're chasing them around all day long. And there's some beat up TV dinner or some crap in the fridge. Where are you going? That little bit of money of yours, it ain't going to no museum, no art galleries or nothing like that. Man, you're going probably to some McDonald's. You're going somewhere to try to vent. You're going to try to get something that tastes good. That's going to chop your money right there. Now, bear in mind, try to imagine if you was an au pair and you left your home and your culture and your everything behind, you with really strangers, right? What do you think? They're buying toiletries. They're buying lotion and stuff like that. They also have maintenance and things they have to spend their money on as well, right? Before they even get to, trying to take a breather and have a pleasant time. What are some of the duties that these families are requiring of au pairs? They're supposed to not be like into cleaning and all that kind of stuff, with the exception of maybe, picking up after the kids. But in many cases, these au pairs are asked to do the dishes, tidy up after the kids, make the children's beds, help the kids with homework, discipline the children, deal with unruly kids. They're often asked to, on their off times, there are interviews you can actually see on YouTube where they're starting to buck back, thank goodness, and they're posting their experiences. And one of the biggest complaints is that they're often asked to babysit in their off time. So let's say they have Saturday off, right? Saturday, Sunday off, but the family, they want to do like a date night, the husband, the wife, we want to do a little something, right? So they'll go ahead and impose on this person in their home, who essentially is really, you want to get the real? She's a living hostage. It's a she. More than likely, it's a she. She's got visa issues in that if this person makes a bad move, they're out. There's no real protection for au pairs. They're not seen as workers, right? They're there under the whole auspice of this program that's very nefarious. And so when people come to them and say, hey, you think you can watch the kids on this Saturday? They want to say no, but it's almost like sexual, what do you call it? The sex trafficking, right? You ever watched one of those undercover joints? In sex trafficking, what takes place? One of the first things they do for a young woman is snatch her passport away. Snatch her phone out of her hands, right? Get her on the real vulnerable tip. They'll take a woman from one part of the country, get her somewhere else, take her passport, take her identity, take her stuff away. And so now if you say, hey, I'm really feeling like I'm in the mood for a massage. What the hell? You think she's in a position to say no? What's she going to feel like? Well, I don't want to make these people angry. It's a very vulnerable place for a person to be, I would say, particularly a young woman, to be away from her family and culture in someone's home without any type of real legal protections. They are basically at the mercy of these host families who are highly exploitive of them. So let me quickly go into what their position is as I've looked into it of the people who participate in the program. Here's the narrative. The first things they say is, oh, you know, so-and-so, let's call her GB or something, right? GB is like a big sister to my children. She's like a daughter that I never had. She's like an extension of our family. It's just wonderful to have her here. I wouldn't want to cloud our beautiful relationship with, you know, negotiating and talk of business and all this compensation thing and all this red tape. It's very good the way it is. Let me tell you something. Gigi is not happy. They are not happy. These people are just surviving. But the folks who are in it, they'll start off with this whole seller relationship piece. And then after that, they go into, they'll briefly mention that if you were to increase the compensation, that a lot of the families would not be able to participate in the program. They wouldn't be able to afford it. And some families have already backed out of the program. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't make me bring out the violin. Because if you can't afford to properly take care and compensate a person, you shouldn't have them anyway. Do you know what childcare would cost for one of these families if they went a traditional path in the United States? Even a high school kid who's doing part-time babysitting, the rate is somewhere between $12, $13. My own daughter has done it for a little while, and she was making pretty good money, 13, 14 bucks. And frequently, folks are charged per child. When it comes to this au pairing, you get a young woman in your home, no matter how many children you have, 3, 4, 5, $4.35 an hour, 10 hours a day, 45 hours per week, $195 stipend minimum. And of course, minimum means target. Just like maximum, what is it? The max, no more than 45 hours a week working, right? Maximum. Well, that's a target for your unscrupulous people to take advantage of. And somehow the government has not found it in its a part of a priority to try to protect these vulnerable people. And it's a real sad thing. So now when you see, the next time you're walking about your big cities, wherever you are, and you happen to come across, you know, one of these unusual looking unions, these little alliances between where the woman doesn't quite match up with the kid. And maybe she's got one of them little double-decker strollers going around. And it looks like some reincarnation of the Mammy Day, you know? In a previous video, I said, just be kind for no reason at all. Man, I gotta tell you, this is especially true for people who are, you know, in a vulnerable place, who are being exploited. If things don't look right, step up. And I'm not saying come bust through the door and try to make changes, all that. No, just say hi. You know, a lot of times these people don't have connections. They're isolated. I mean, there's people within our own neighborhoods who are alone and don't have connections, right? So all I'm saying is, you know, before you jump on that social media and you do like a thumbs up or send some little trivial sticker or some goofy little cartoon, you know, like a heart with wings and all that kind of stuff, don't forget to make real connections with folks. Try to reach out to people when you see them. I mean, people are out here and they exist. And bad people are not taking a break. They are constantly out there pushing to get more. Greed is relentless. They're pushing and squeezing to get more. And it really is important that people who are good or who aspire, at least try to be good, make an effort and just do something small, you know. So I hope that, you know, that's pretty much what I want to say on this topic. And I hope that that kind of opens your eyes to that, so that when you do see it, you'll say, wow, now I know, like, that's crazy. What's going on with that? And maybe it inspires a part, touch your heart, to just reach out and just say hi. I'm gonna let that one go. But take care, fam. Thanks for signing in, and we'll do this again. Amir's Corner.